Hey, my name is Augustine Colebrook. I'm the principal at Midwifery Wisdom Collective. My focus is on big picture political movements that are happening within the profession, some of the controversial questions, and centering voices that are not being regularly heard.
I'm Leila Wyatt. I am a traveling student midwife, learning midwifery from cultures and a lineage of midwifery throughout the United States. I'm here to center the voices of students to hear their calling, their pathway, why they chose midwifery, and even share a bunch of birth stories along the way.
Greetings, I'm Jamara Amani. I am a midwife, a mom, and a social justice activist. I am here to challenge white supremacy, homophobia, transphobia, and anything that keeps people from being their best and living their best selves, as we have the human right to do. And I am looking forward to sharing stories of birth justice on this podcast.
Hi there, I'm Delmar Bowden. I am non-binary, queer, transgender, Latinx, midwife, and full-spectrum doula. My focus is on increasing access and equity in midwifery care and midwifery education.
Hello, my name is Angie Love. I am a community nurse midwife in Vero Beach, Florida, at the practice of Midwife Love. I also do telehealth midwifery through Midwife RX. I'm a mama, and I am committed to maintaining birth choices for all people and educating a future generation of midwives, because we will not die out.
Hi, I'm so excited, and thank you for being here on the Midwifery Wisdom Podcast. Again, this is Leila, your host. I'm here with Gabi, and she is a student midwife, and we'll tell you all about her journey here in a second. Gabi, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Gabbi Goetz. I am in my primary phase, so I have about 5 more births left before I'm getting ready to send my stuff in a NARM. I'm going through the NARM PET process. Yeah.
Where are you located?
Yeah, so right now I am in Southern Oregon.
And have you always been in Southern Oregon?
No, yes, I'm from Chicago. Well, I was actually born in Romania, but I grew up in Chicago. So I lived there for like the majority of my life. And I came out to Southern Oregon about like 4 years ago. And I've
on your own or as midwifery started?
Oregon. I came out here actually to go to college. Like I was trying to get to nursing school when I decided that I wanted to go down this path. So I was going to Southern University when I first moved out here 4 years ago.
Okay, so what happened? Like, where did that shift happen from nursing school to midwifery?
Yeah, so I was taking it was just like a random like elective class. It was called like world religion or something. I really can't remember, but my professor was really into like shamanism, and he was kept talking about like the midwives and like the shamanistic communities being like the medicine women, like healers. And like I was super drawn to it. I was just like, oh my God, like I want to do that. Like I wish I was born then, because like that's like what I'm supposed to do. And then I really just like got super excited about birth, and I took a doula training through DONA, and I loved that. And literally like after 5 minutes of that, I was like, okay, like this is like I need to do more. Like I'm supposed to be a midwife. Like a doula is great, but it's like not enough for me. But my why kind of like came together a little bit sort of after I started my journey. So I was born in Romania at home. My mom had me all by herself. She didn't have any prenatal care. So
like
Romania in the 90s was
alone
like,
in the middle of
unassisted.
nowhere.
And you know, she chose that way of birthing because she like Romania was really corrupt. Like it still is, but especially like in the 90s. And there's like lots of like racism and like just like classism in Romania, and like being like brown Romanians, like people even assume you're a gypsy. And like there was like this big thing about like taking all the like gypsy babies like away, basically. So she birthed me at home unassisted. My grandmother caught me at home. So I kind of like found my why sort of after. I was like, why am I so drawn to this? Because like it's just like in me, like I'm like supposed to like support these women, because I just fully believe that like if my mom like at the age of like 19 years old was like able to have a midwife, like her like a whole experience would have been different. Because like the reason she chose this way was because she like didn't feel safe. And like that's the reality of so many women in America even.
Did you know that story before you went into birth work, or did you like go through your birth work experience, start asking your mom like, hey, tell me more about like, what do you mean I was alone? Why, you know, tell me more that.
Yeah. I mean, I knew, but I didn't really like understand really, like, I didn't think about it. Like I knew that I was like born at home, like unassisted, but I didn't think anything of it. I really didn't. And then just like as I started like getting into midwifery, like this was like months into my journey, like when I was attending births, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is why I feel so passionate about this. Cause it's like, I don't know, I feel like we like hold like trauma from like, you know, like being like in our mothers and like our birth journeys, like even as adults, like I feel like we hold that forever.
We do. I mean, Midwifery Wisdom Collective offers a class called Origins, which is pre and perinatal psychology. And literally it talks about the infant, the mother's utero and birthing experience and how that affects your life in general. Right. And we can keep on going into epigenetics and things like that too. But yeah, you obviously had a connection with birth work subconsciously, right?
Yeah, subconsciously, but yeah.
So why the PEP
So
process?
once I put the pieces together, it kind of just all like, I was like, this is it.
Yeah. Why PEP?
So I imagine lots of people that like want to become midwives, like look up on Google, like, how do I become a midwife? And it's really confusing. There's like really no, like, it was really hard for me to find information. So what I understood is like, okay, I'm gonna like reach out to local midwives. So I like reached out to this local birth center, and I basically like interviewed with them, and you know, it like worked out really well. They had like a student program, so like they had other students, and basically she was like, okay, I went through like the PEP process, and like she recommended like the Via Vita school. So like that's like the program that I bought, which the lady who runs it like never sent me all the stuff, and that seems to be like a big problem that a lot of people have. But
so let me like pause there really quickly. Is the school like an organizational support system for PEP? Like, can you tell me more about that?
It's like a midwifery school that like they send you modules. So like basically you get like a certificate of like completeness, like a diploma sort of after, but it's not accredited by NEEC. So it's the PEP process basically. So I had looked into like the National College of Midwifery. I looked into MCU, but MCU is the only school that takes like federal funding. And like my mom was like, oh, you're gonna have to take like loans out. And I was like, oh, like she was so casual about it. And I was like, I'm not about to take like loans out. Like, what are you talking about? And then like National College of Midwifery, they wanted like $10,000 like right up front to even start. And I was like, where do you get that? So the PEP process just seemed easy for me because I was like, okay, like these other midwives that I'm working with that are successful did this, and like I can like, because like I mean midwifery in general, like in an apprenticeship, like you don't really get paid, at least when you start. So it was kind of just like I didn't really like have the resources to do anything else, if that makes sense.
Are you glad, like looking back on it, are you glad that you chose the PEP process?
Yeah, I actually really am, especially because like, you know, I'm in like a place right now where I'm like doing really well with like my like didactical kind of like studying that I'm doing on my own. I mean, like the thing that I don't like about the PEP process is there's like nobody to like support us. So like with like a meek school, like if there's like, you know, like bad preceptor relationships, like things like that, like they can help you. Like it sounds like find like a placement that works better. But for me, it was kind of like, it has just been like, it's just like kind of like on my own, which I sort of wish I had somebody to like help me. Like there's not really anybody I can like call and ask questions or like talk to. So that's what I don't like about it. But what I do like about it is the accessibility. No.
Like, did you know that going into it?
I really didn't know anything.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
I often wonder that, right? If students like, but again, like you said, there wasn't a lot of information online about how to become a midwife. And we have to ask if that's purposeful, and how that works. But I often just wonder if a lot of people understand, like, it's self-paced, self-driven, all alone schooling, and can take you up to 7 years to finish. So how far along are you now, and how long has it been?
So I'm gonna be done like within a couple of months. I have 5 more births. We just had a transfer this morning. It would have been 4 more. But so I'm hopefully gonna be sending my stuff in like around Christmas time. And by that time I'll have been hitting my 3-year mark.
Okay. That's actually good. That's like the expected average.
Yeah.
Like, well, because some people, like I said, 7 years.
I mean, it's different. Like if you're with a slow practice, it's like, it might take that long, especially like I started at a birth center that was like had a student program. Like they trained students. So like, I kind of like walked into like having a job, but like, I imagine like for a lot of students with like that go into like a smaller kind of practice, like their preceptors, like, you're not touching my clients. Like,
yeah. That makes sense. And you knew that about your birth center when you chose it? Or did you just call up the closest birth center? How did you decide that?
I reached out to every single home birth midwife I could, and they were all kind of just like, you don't have any kids. Like, we don't really like know you, but like reach out to this birth center because they train students. And I was like, great. And I loved it. And I was there for 2 years. And I guess I just also want to say that like I've had way more births than like norms, like PEP numbers. So like I feel like a lot of people go into it because like I've just like encountered, like I can't even count on 2 hands like the amount of students I've seen like quit. Like it seems like people come in and they're like, okay, 2 years, like I'm gonna knock this all out. But it's like, just because you have 20 assist births, that doesn't mean you're like done assisting, like by any means. Like just because you had 20 catches, like I've caught more than 20 babies, but it's like just because you have like 20 catches, like doesn't mean you're done. And like,
can you go deeper in that for our listeners?
Yeah. So like during my assist phase, when I reached number 20, like my preceptors were like, you aren't done yet. Like we want to see more from you, like more confidence, like more development in like certain skills and like in the birth room before like you're ready to catch babies. And then I ended up leaving that practice. Like I love them to this day, like with all my heart. I just wanted home birth experience. So I ended up leaving them after 2 years to work with home birth midwives. And so I like had already started my primary phase at the birth center, but I was like kind of restarting it just kind of on my own. Like I didn't feel like confident in those births that I did. And then I left the home birth practice I was with in bad standing, and they didn't sign any of my stuff. So like 5 months of like hard work, like I don't have anything to show for it besides like the experience I gained.
Okay. Wait,
and that's like
that
the
is
reality.
A common thing, right? Is this people like not signing your shit?
Yeah.
So what? Okay, when
I call Norm, she doesn't care. She's like, whatever.
So I respect that desire to say like, hey, I love you, midwives at this birth center. You have taught me, you've trained me, you've said to me that like, it's not a piece of paper, it's not a check off, it's lives that you're dealing with. You have to perfect that deeper. But you wanted home birth experience, which totally, that makes sense because you want to see both. It is a totally different world, right?
It's so
and
different.
So let's like rewind. When you chose that home birth practice, how did you choose them? Now looking back, what would you have done differently?
A student that was at the birth center with me had like graduated, got licensed, and went to work with them. And she was like, oh, you should come here. Like, it's great. And I was like, I went to visit for a couple of days, and I had like a bad feeling, like kind of, I was like, there was like definitely like personality difference. But I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's fine. Like, you're going to learn, and this is going to be a great experience. And it doesn't matter. Like, you can,
when did you have that bad feeling?
That's what I told myself. Like, when I met them, I was like, okay, like, these are definitely like, these people aren't as like warm and fuzzy as like the midwives I was with before. So like the midwives I was with before, like, it was just like such a loving environment, and like, it was very professional. Like, I'll say that. And there was like definitely a big difference of like, professionality, and like, they're not as like warm and fuzzy. And I'm not saying everybody needs like this warm, fuzzy person, but it's like, right. I like thrive on like feeling like nurtured and loved, especially by people in authority. Like, it just helps me when someone's like, oh, you're doing a great job. And like, it just makes me, it helps me. So I definitely like developed like a lot of anxiety working with these people, and there was like some communication problems because of the amount of anxiety they caused me. I like had a lot of trouble like communicating how I really felt, and like kind of like giving in to like, you know, like my boundaries. I was like, oh, like they made me feel bad because I, you know, like set these boundaries. So now I'm going to like reverse them so that I can please them, because I really like was bad at communicating with them. If that makes sense, because of like these personality differences.
You know, the personality differences caused you to feel like in your shell. So you felt like you couldn't say what you meant or say what you felt or ask for help or anything like that. And therefore, I mean, we need to face like crucial conversations. If they don't happen, don't get easier.
Yeah, I mean, like I was like yelled at, like there was like definitely like really high expectations for like time. Like they would like, she'd like call me and be like this is like just like appointment. She'd be like, oh, I'm late to this. Like, I need you to leave your house right now and go here. And I'm just like, well, like I'm doing this. And she's like, I don't care. Like drop it and like go do this. There was like a lot of like that. And I felt like there was a lot of like, it was like a group practice, which I've learned isn't really my thing.
Okay.
But there was a lot of like, oh, you're at the bottom of the totem pole, so like you have to go do this, kind of like, yeah, if that makes sense. So
yeah. So looking back on it, like what is an ideal preceptor for you and your style?
Yeah.
And if you could like re-review or re-interview again them or someone in that moment in their life, like what would you ask differently? What would you look for?
So my preceptor now is like honestly my ideal preceptor. Like I am so happy where I am. And I think what's ideal is like we both like value having a life outside of midwifery. Cause like this practice I was with, like they were really busy. They would do like anywhere from like 9 to like sometimes like 18 births in 1 month. So like these people like lived and like breathed work. Like they would put on the calendar like dinner and like CEUs at like 7 p.m. on like freaking Friday night. And like that was like, they would like, oh, we're gonna hang out and like watch educational videos together. And it's like my preceptor like doesn't want to do that. And
you're like I respect that's your style, but that's not my style.
Yeah, like that my preceptor is like, so chill, and like she really values like having, you know, like a life outside of work, and I do too. And like I let them make me feel really bad for wanting a life outside of work. And like now I'm learning that I shouldn't feel bad for that. So I guess to answer your question, like I would like kind of like, it sounds weird, but like asking them how they spend their time. Like as weird as that is, just being like, how, like when you're not at work, like are there things you like to do? Like just like, especially if you're like going to like interview with the group practice, just like asking like kind of like that extracurricular things that are like required of you. Because like after birth, it was like required of me to like go eat with them. So like after a birth, I had to like go
would you like debrief though?
Them.
Was it like purposeful to debrief because we want to talk to you? Because some students are like, I need to have a debrief with you after every birth. So it could be seen as a positive thing.
But like, yeah, like to me, like personally though, like I could have been like a phone call or like a 10-minute conversation or something, but like they made it like a social thing, and like it just was like a lot for me to like be so busy and absorbed with work. Like I couldn't, like I would wake up frantically throughout the night, like stressed out looking at my calendar. Like I couldn't stop thinking about work for 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's not super healthy to be around mamas and babies and people when you're that stressed out. Can you, so how did you then find the practice you're with now?
Yeah, so basically what happened is I left that practice because there was something that happened I didn't like, and they sent me a message.
Name it.
Okay, so they had like been assigning me different like modules to do, and I guess it was like unsatisfactory to them, just like the first one. And like it was like a super beginner like midwifery module, and like we had been really busy that week, and like there was like multiple births. I've been in like probably like I counted the hours. I had been like working for them for like 47 hours that week, And I guess like I didn't cite my sources, and I like skipped this question that was like, draw a picture of a placenta. And like they were like, your work is unsatisfactory. So they sent me a message in like the practice group that had other students in it. That was like, instead of like a personal email, this was like a message in front of like the entire practice that was like, this is unsatisfactory and we're suspending you from call on these days, like for this time until you get this done to our satisfaction.
But the modules weren't the PEP Vita, your school modules. They were like,
no, this was like something, I don't even know what it was from.
Their
this was
own
like
education.
Yeah, because they had like a newer student start, and like they were having her do it, and they were like, oh, Gabby can do it too. And I was like, cool, that's great. But like nobody ever like, they didn't like tell me how thorough they really wanted it.
Yeah.
But I just like, to me, like you can suspend me, that's fine. Like I did cut corners. But the fact that it was like, instead of like a private email, it was like in this public Facebook message with other students.
Did you sign an agreement with them when you started?
We had planned to, but I never actually like signed paper. But
so for our listeners, please sign a written agreement with your preceptor. And that agreement should have said, and we're going to require you to do additional education modules, in which you could have been like, the what?
Well, I think that actually was in the agreement, and I was fine with it. Like, it wasn't the like education module. Like, I will do any module they like, anyone wants to do. Like, I don't really care. It was the like disciplining me like in front of other students and like this group, instead of like a private email. Like, I'm like, who like taught you that this is how you communicate with your
talk to people
staff or your students? Like, I don't. Yeah. So then I quit right after that, and I reached out to the birth center I was at before, and I was like, I need help. Like, I miss you guys. I'm so sorry. And they were like, okay, like, unfortunately, you know, like we have, like, we're full right now, but like she was able to like connect me with the midwife I'm working with now. So I had like moved my whole life like 3 hours away from where I am now to like where I was working. So I'm kind of like commuting and hanging out here for periods of time and like going home, and
So you're still commuting 3 hours? Like you stay?
Sort of,
like...
yeah. I'll commute that like once a week. I'll stay here for like 5 days and go back for like 2 days. Or if there's a birth, I'll like turn around. It's just.
What? That's crazy. Yep. So how many births do you do a month at your current site?
Like 4.
Okay. Cool.
Perfect. And it's just me and my preceptor, which is cool. So.
And it's a birth center practice?
Yeah,
but with one person.
We do home birth and birth center.
Oh, okay.
Well, cool. Yeah, we serve a really underserved rural area. There's no midwives. There's only one, who's my preceptor. There's really not many resources here. We have like a hospital, and that's kind of it.
Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys who are listening,
that's kind of.
There's more than just catches and births that you have to do. It's a lot of like prenatal care, postpartums, newborn exams, things like that. So I know you say you have like 5 catches left, but what about all of those other things? How close to those are you?
Basically all I need left is the catches. So those are like my continuity of care clients. Mm-hmm. So I have to have like 3 more of those, because this was supposed to be a continuity care client that just transferred today. So that's like when I see a client like for 5 appointments that span through 2 different trimesters, and then I see them for postpartum care. And then I have like a couple more initial appointments I need to. So luckily, like the midwives I used to work with at the birth center that I was at before said that I can, because we do like low volume here.
Right.
Said that like if I need more initials, I can go get them there.
Cool.
And then we have a plan to like check off all my skills stuff soon.
Yeah. So when you're done,
this is like we have to have the different like skills verification.
Right. Where do you plan on practicing when you're done?
I'm moving to Phoenix, Arizona on February 1st. So I'll be there.
Okay. So Phoenix or Arizona has some funky laws, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Basically we can carry Pitocin. You're supposed to transfer after like 2 different Pitocin injections. And I'm trying to think, we can do VBACs I don't know. I think we can do breech and VBACs. I'm trying to think. There's like kind of one weird thing that I'm trying to
There's just
remember.
some weird stuff with Arizona about like you have the ability to do IV fluids and Pitocin, but if you use them, you have to transfer. And it's kind of that.
Yeah, I was
Why?
reading the laws and
Tell
it
me
sounds
more.
like if you use like one dose of Pitocin, then it's fine. I could be wrong, but it seems like you can use one dose of Pitocin and be fine, and then after 2 you have to transfer. I could be wrong. I talked to a midwife like a little bit ago that practices there, and like she was just talking about how like a lot of people just like try to use herbs first.
Right.
Why
Arizona?
Yeah, there's some weird laws. My boyfriend really wants to live there, and I'm like, you've been in Oregon, like following me around through all this craziness. So like, if you want to go to Arizona, like we'll go to Arizona. I don't care. Like it's really not that deep. It's just like it's warm there, and like he like really likes the desert. And I'm like, if you want to live there, like cool, whatever. It's where we're gonna live.
It's warm there.
The midwifery
community
seems awesome. There's like lots of doulas, lots of like child educators. There's like lots of community, and like I'm here for it because I'm kind of tired of like where I am now.
Yeah,
because it's so rural. So
it's really rural. Yeah, because I'm considering Oregon area for my last year of midwifery school, and just because we love to hike and we love greenery and we love mountains and access to the coast and things like that. And but I'm really passionate about like breeches and twins, and I think that that's not legal in Oregon, is it?
Yeah, so we can do twins at home, not at the birth center, but at home, and we can do breeches at home, or like if an unexpected breech walks into the birth center.
Right. Okay. So do you have to have like a agreement with a clinician or a physician or a doctor or OB or anything like that?
Nope. Yeah, that's one thing about Arizona is you need a standing order for meds. Like you need a standing order for each patient. That's the thing I was thinking about. But yeah, no, in Oregon, you can carry Pitocin, Metrogen, Cytotec, IV fluids. You can carry it all.
Safety.
You can use it all. Yeah. Oregon's a great place to practice.
So we want to hear a birth story. I mean, it can be a birth story about something that you learned about yourself, like where you like messed up and you learned a big like life lesson, or it can be a birth story that, you know, is about a skill, like listening to heart tones or breech or twins or, you know, charting or something where you were like, this really was a life skill about midwifery that we always talk about, but like, wow, I really got my hands in it.
Yeah. Okay. I have like been thinking about the story. I have the perfect story. So I guess to preface this, like, so like this was me and then like my preceptor that like I had a hard time with. Like, I'm just going to say, like, I am really grateful I attended this birth with her because she's like probably the most skilled midwife I've ever worked with. And like, I just have to say that, like, even though she was mean, like she's the most skilled midwife I've ever worked with. Anyway, so we're at this birth. It's a home birth, 3rd time mom. This is an important backstory. She's a therapist and like her friends are there. She's got like 3 girlfriends there and her partner, but like her 3 girlfriends are also therapists. And like, so she's having her 3rd baby.
What kind of therapy?
Like, I think she went to like a school, but they're all like, you'll see where it ties in. Like they're all counselor, like therapists.
Oh, okay.
So like so her first couple births, I'm pretty sure like she transferred, like had emergencies. Like it didn't work out where she could have her baby at home. So it was important to her that she had her baby at home. So anyway, she's in the tub. Like she's like pushing, she's having a really hard time. She's like, oh, like she was just like, you know, starting to get really like upset and just like done. And she's like, can you check my cervix? And I was like, sure. Like we just like assumed she was fully dilated because she was pushing. So I like reach in and like her cervix was kind of posterior. So like that's how I knew. I was like, I cannot be estimating this wrong. So like I had to reach, like grab it, and like it was like she was like 6 centimeters. So I like kind of looked at my preceptor and I was like, and I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, there's a little more cervix left. Like, let's just like, you know, breathe for a little bit. Her friends, like, they'd all been like, her friends were all like drinking wine and like laughing, and they're like holding her hands, and they're like, let's visualize the cervix going away. And like, they're all like therapists. So this is like a thing they do. It's like the visualization. It's like a thing. So they're all like talking, they're like, visualize the cervix going away. And they like keep saying it over and over again. And I'm just like, oh my God, like we're setting this woman up to fail. Like she's like 6 centimeters. And like, all of a sudden she just like pushes her baby's head out. And like, the baby's head took a while to come out. And then the body flew out. That baby ended up needing like good like 7 minutes of resuscitation.
Yeah.
So that was like a very like, I was like, ooh, this
sounds
is real.
Like she went
like
from 6 to 10 really fast, and that baby flew through
like,
the canal.
What I learned from that birth was, I was like, who am I to like tell a woman that she's not ready to push her baby out because of her cervix?
Or maybe that you can't visualize the cervix opening and then it opens.
Exactly. I'm like, who am I to tell this woman she's not ready to push a baby out? Like, and like for after that, now I'm always just like, if a woman wants to like try to like give a little push, like we won't go crazy. If she wants to try to give a little push, like because she feels like that's like what she wants to do, like who am I to tell her no?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And that's
I work like for a midwife who does this really interesting comment, and she says, like when the woman or when the birthing person says, I really need to push, she says, well, go ahead and bear down, and if it feels good, go for it. But if it feels wrong, then I want you to tell me that. Right. And every time, and I can't say this is going to happen every time, but like so far, every time they're like, oh no, okay, I don't like that, they haven't been ready. Right. Like it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
But when they did, and it felt good, even though they were like 6 centimeters, babies were born pretty soon after. So,
exactly.
It's an intuition, but also if they are afraid of doing it, just questioning that, like, do you enjoy this sensation? Or when you try to do it, does it feel wrong? Is interesting.
Yeah, something I've just been trying to implement lately is like not even doing cervical exams. Like they're a great tool, like, like for when we need to like utilize rest, and like especially for like some first time moms, like it's important. But lately, like, so like I had gone like multiple years, like up until a couple months ago, where I started attending births and like not doing cervical, because my preceptor now, like she's super cool, which is like letting me kind of like manage the labor. There's a couple of births lately have showed up, and I've just like not done any cervical exams, and the babies come out like.
Right. Babies come out. Well, and I think that
they come
if
out.
If there's not an indication, right? Like you get there, she's moaning, she's bloody show, her contractions are consistent, she feels pressure in her butt, fetal heart tones sound great, all of her vitals are great. Like why?
Yeah, because if a mom's like in real labor like that, even if she's 3 centimeters, I'm not gonna leave. Like But what I was going to say about that birth was also like an eye-opening experience. Was like, wow, this is real. Cause like that was like I'd never been at such a serious resuscitation. And that was like a big, like, I knew exactly what to do. And like that preceptor, like she didn't really like give out compliments, and she was like, you did a good job. And like, that made me feel like that was like, I was like, that was like the moment I was like, okay, I can like really do this. Like I knew exactly what to do. And like, apparently did a good enough job where like, she was like, told me that. And that's great. Like, but
yeah, it kind of sounds like, I know you were saying that you like hormone fuzzies and things like that. She doesn't hand them out often, but when she does,
so it meant
they're real, right? Yeah. Like that meant a lot. You obviously handled that resuscitation really well. And after learning something like, oh, whoops, guess 6 and a baby can come in really quickly. Yeah. So what advice would you give other students, or someone looking to become a midwife, or someone that's like, just starting out?
So my advice was like, I think this is what benefited me, because I've seen so many people quit. Like I can't even count the amount of people, and it's starting slow. So like I started at like a pretty high volume birth center. We were doing like, like 5 to 7 births a month. So like, that's like, it's not that many, but like, it's kind of a lot. And like, I started out on call like 2 days a week. And like, I was able to have like, I used to take care of elderly people for years. Like I was working at like a memory care facility. And then I was like on call and did clinic 2 days a week. And like, that was really helpful. Like when I was first starting out, and then like, eventually, like when I got farther in, like I made that my like midwifery, like the only thing that I do. But I feel like I would have like burnt out if I didn't start slow. And I think also like, just like if you feel like a preceptor, like if you guys don't like mesh and you're not happy and it's like causing you like emotional turmoil, like my experience caused me, it's like there's really no shame in like finding a new preceptor, because like developing your confidence is the most important part of this whole thing. Because like you can do like, you know, like you can get your stuff sent off and you can pass your NARM, but like when you're like actually on your own, it's like confidence is what's gonna like really help you.
Are you planning on becoming a preceptor someday?
Yeah, like I can't wait to have a student. Like I'm probably gonna have like, I mean, like, I don't know, like obviously I need to be ready, but like right when I become a preceptor, like I it feels like really important to me, because like I just feel like I reached out to so many people that like didn't even give me like 5 minutes like explain them like my like why I wanted to do this, or you know. So I feel like I'll be really picky about like who I train, because I think it's like important to me to like, it's important to me to train midwives of color, because like as a woman of color, it's like that's who I want to make like turn into midwives.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and that you connect with them, like you said, you'll be a little picky.
Oh, yeah.
Women of, you know, students of color, Indigenous students, and those that you connect with, right? Like that you can trust too. Unfortunately, your story isn't rare, right? Your story of being mistreated by preceptors or jumping and bouncing around isn't rare, but I hear it the other way around too. Like where students have actually mistreated preceptors or lied to preceptors, and, you know, and so then you think about this like vicious cycle of, you know, we've got the trauma of our preceptors being passed down to us because they were mistreated as students. But then you also have students mistreating our preceptors to the point where they don't know who to trust.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that's a big reason there was like kind of a lot of like weird energy with my last apprenticeship, is because they had a student that like really did them pretty dirty, and like it caused them to like have like apprehensions and yeah.
Woo. So where can people find you? How can they donate towards your journey?
Let me look what my Cashapp is. I'm pretty sure it's my name. Yeah, it is just it's Gabriella Goetz. So it's GABRIELA GOETZ. And then on Instagram, it is at Gabbi Goetz, just GABBI GOETZ. It's the same on Facebook too.
Perfect. We love following journeys and supporting you as needed and things like that too.
Sure.
And what is your midwifery business going to be called? Maybe we'll find you there. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, so I'm gonna call my practice Medicine Mama Midwifery, but I'm not sure like if I'm gonna start my own. I'm probably not gonna start my practice right away. Like I'm hoping I'm just gonna like, you know, like slide into somebody else's, and then like maybe like kind of like join forces with somebody, and then like kind of establish my own brand. And like I just like want to have like a partner to work with, but that's not, you know, it's not the easiest to find like your perfect person to work with. So, but no, I need like, I'm feeling like really like it's really important to me to like work with somebody that has more experience than I am, because these are like real people's lives, you know,
in the beginning.
And I feel like you're not just like, you don't just like get licensed and then like you're not ready, I don't think, completely.
What are you talking about? You mean the NARM certificate doesn't prepare you for everything?
Yeah, I just I feel confident, like I can provide care, but like I just want to attend births with somebody that like also has skills. Like it's not just gonna be like me and then like some random assistant. Like it needs to be somebody skilled.
Have you met any friends along the way?
Yeah,
like student midwife friends that you okay, good. So there's hope out there for you guys, students. You can find friends, like any one friend that stuck with you for all 3 years.
I mean, like the girls that I did my like training with, like the birth center I was at for like a couple years, like I'm gonna love them forever, and like we're gonna follow each other's journeys forever. Like I think we have different paths, like obviously like they're probably gonna stay here in Oregon, but oh yeah. And I made friends with this other girl who like she was at the birth center I was at for like 2 days, didn't work out, but like she's with like a home birth practice now and is like thriving, and like I feel like I'm gonna always like, you know, like kind of like follow her and like
Good. We need that.
Yeah.
We need that.
I haven't
community.
really yeah, I mean, I think it's like important as like this upcoming generation of midwives is like the older generation of midwives were like, they'll hate each other. And like, that's like a reality that like is talked about, like they all hate each other. And like a lot of people treat their students bad because their preceptors treated them bad. And I think we just like break this cycle. Because it's like different client, like we're all going to attract different clients. And it's like, we're not like stealing clients from each other. Like we just need to love each other and like support each other.
Yeah, the scarcity mindset thing is ridiculous. This like scarcity mindset and skill, like I'm the most skilled, I'm the oldest, most skilled midwife and the hippiest and the, you know, it's just a little crazy, but you're right. There is like something different about this generation of midwives, the ones like 2018 and on, you know, there's something about this generation. And I mean, we're going to be the new manna. I guarantee you, if manna, if manna doesn't die and we build something else, but the new manna, we're going to be filling those NARM seats, graduating, getting licensed, creating practices and teaching the next generation. And all in a time where we're kind of like back in another renaissance of midwifery, right? Like we are definitely as part of a new renaissance with like the Moms Bill and the Babies Act and things like that. But it's you're our future.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think if we're just nice to each other, like that's like a really good start, you know, like just
that's a really good start. Let's just be nice to each other. It's so true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to hear? You want to send out to student midwives or midwives around the world?
I guess just if you want to do it, like go for it. And like, if you have to take breaks and like come back to it, that doesn't matter. Like just do it.
Awesome.
Like I feel like Gabi. Some of the best midwives have taken breaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Totally.
Thank you.
Bye, Gabi.
Bye.